evening, everyone. Kalla here. Welcome to my live stream. Glad you could make it today. So today, more Hakuouki Chronicles of Wind and Blossom. Last time, we got involved in protecting the Shogun on his visit to Kyoto, and the demons turned up, declared themselves as demons, declared Chizuru as also a demon, and declared their intention to make her join them by whatever means possible, essentially. So we've been hiding. And not going out so much. That's about where we were. Hello Nick, hello Drag, how are you doing? And let's get into it. December 1866. I was sweeping a section of the compound amidst the freezing cold. Well, that should do it. I wanted to help out as much as I could, but since they still refused to let me out without an escort, there wasn't a great deal I could do. Still, I helped clean our home, and that felt good. Hopefully, they'd like it too.
Oh, 境内を掃除してくれていたのか。助かるな。
Oh, hello, Kondo. It's really gotten cold lately, hasn't it?
今日に来てからずいぶん経つが、この寒さにはどうも慣れんな。
He rubbed his hands together and blew on them in a mostly vain attempt to warm them up. I've picked up a bunch of dead leaves, so I was thinking about roasting potatoes later. Would you like some? And they'll warm you up. Kondo gave me a little wry smile.
焼き芋か。昔はよくやったもんな。
Oh. I flushed with embarrassment. Kondo was a busy man. Managing the Shinsengumi was not easy. Yeah, Drake, but basically she's suggesting I have a bunch of, I have a bunch of dead leaves. I can make a little fire and, yeah, cook potatoes in it. Probably not in foil. I think we're pre-foil here. But pretty much the same idea as baking potatoes in the embers of a bonfire that's already gone out. An important man like him didn't have time for roasting potatoes. You've been really busy lately. I hope you're taking care of yourself.
まあ、こういう時代だからな。忙しいってことは、それだけ新選組が頼りにされてるってことだ。名誉なことさ。
True. In the last several weeks, Kondo and Hijikata had left the compound often to go meet with important shogunate officials. They scarcely had time to breathe, let alone relax. Suddenly, as if my thoughts had summoned him, Hijikata appeared.
Oh, Kondo-san, こんなところにいたのか。
おお、トシ、どこに行ってたんだ。探したぞ。次の将軍がだな。家持将軍の後見人だった一橋慶喜公に決まったようだ。
やっぱりあの人に決まったか。他にやる人なんざいねえんだから、もったいぶらずにさっさと引き受けりゃいいのにね。
トシ、将軍公になられた方に向かってその言い方はないだろう。あの方は東照神君家康公の再来と呼ばれるほど英明な方なんだぞ。
まあいい。将軍が誰になろうが、俺たちはその将軍の下で戦うだけだ。
俺たちが頑張れば、それだけ将軍公も徳川幕府も安泰ってわけだ。
Only 20 days after Lord Yoshinobu had been officially inaugurated as the new shogun, the commander-in-chief of the shogunate and the one to hold ruling power, the emperor suddenly passed away. The death of the emperor, whose younger sister, Princess Kazu, had married the previous shogun, who was seen as the symbol of imperial unification, sent shockwaves throughout the country. Princess Kazu, the emperor's younger sister who married into the Iemochi Tokugawa household. Imperial unification, a political movement that sought to unify the upper echelons of the shogunal and imperial classes. Iemochi Tokugawa married the sister of the emperor in support of this movement. He was succeeded by the prince, a 15-year-old boy. In the turmoil, the activities of the Choshu domain went uninvestigated. The entire country of Japan found itself thrust into rapid motion. December 1866. Still, end of December 1866. As we faced the end of the year, we all began preparing ourselves for a thorough cleaning of the compound. One morning, I was getting dressed in my room, my breath making small white clouds. It seems especially cold today. The temple was always rather chilly. Today seemed different somehow. If it's this cold, there may be a few warriors that could get sick. I rubbed my hands together and blew on them in an attempt to warm my frozen fingers. Then I heard someone speak from outside my door with such energy that for a moment I forgot the cold completely. Yeah, if you're talking about energy, it's Heisuke. I recognize that voice. Good morning, Heisuke. Why are you so excited? Does something happen? Has it snowed? Are we off to build snowmen with Heisuke?
いやいやいや、すげえんだって。お前も見てみろよ。
What's amazing?
とにかく外に出てみろって。
He grabbed my hand and I stumbled after him. The light was bright and the air was cold, and my eyes snapped shut against both instinctively. You feel like a snowball fight is more in style? Yeah, that's true.
ほら、千鶴。綺麗だろ。
I slowly opened them again. Oh, wow!
なあ、すっげえだろ。昨日寝るときは降ってなかったのに。
Right, this is incredible. How could this much snow fall in one night? It was the same temple courtyard I'd grown used to seeing every day, but now it looked like an entirely different world. Amidst the snow were a few other familiar people. Good morning, Harada, Nagakura.
お、来たか、千鶴。どうだ？意外と積もったもんだろう。
そのせいで今日は寒い寒い。犬も庭を駆け回る寒さってとこだな。
Does that make me a dog if I want to go play in the snow? Because I want to go play in the snow. Nagakura jerked his head at Heisuke with a grin, gesturing towards his ponytail, which did in fact look a little like a dog's wagging tail. He scowled.
そりゃ寒いに決まってるだろ。新八さんは年中半裸みたいなもんだしな。
半裸だろうが全裸だろうが大丈夫だろう。新八はなんつうか風邪ひかない系だからな。
Very jealous of the person who never gets colds.
見てるだけで寒いよな。せめてなんか一枚羽織ってくれば。
バッカお前、寒いからってこの肉体美を隠すなんぞ罰が当たんぞ。それにサノだって似たようなもんじゃねえか。そう思うよな、千鶴ちゃん。
Why am I being roped into this? I tried to laugh it off. To be honest though, none of them were exactly dressed for the weather. Anyway, look at all this snow. There's so much.
だよな。こんだけ雪が降ったんだから遊びたいと思わねえ？
Well, I don't think we have enough snow to make a fort. Do you want to make snow bunnies?
おいおい、千鶴ちゃん、バカ言っちゃいけねえな。そんな軟弱な遊び、俺らに似合うわけねえだろ。
軟弱かどうかはともかく、新八が雪うさぎなんて可愛らしいもん作ってたら、俺は笑い死にするぜ。
Then, what should we do?
そんなの決まってんだろ。
Yep, I do believe you are entirely correct on this, Drag. Almost in unison, they bent down and began to dig in the snow. Could it be? A snowball fight?
ごめいと、実はもう組も分けてあるんだ。千鶴、お前は俺と一緒な。
Ah, I see. I was brought out here not to see the beauty of the snow, but because they needed an even number of people for a snowball fight.
相方が平助じゃ頼りないだろうが、くじの結果だ。運が悪かったと思ってくれ。
んなことないって。俺がいる限りこいつには絶対当てさせねえし。よし、任せとけ千鶴。俺がしっかり守ってやるからな。
It seemed like they'd discussed this before coming to get me. They looked excited to begin, but if I leave my room to go play, Hijikata will get mad.
いやいや、千鶴。これは遊びじゃなくて訓練なんだよ。
So you claim. Training?
そうそう。飛んでくる雪玉を避けることによって反射神経を鍛えるんだ。お、そういうと筋が通ってねえか？
Sounds like an excellent excuse. It had, right up until he asked if it did.
このぐらいじゃ土方さんも怒んないって。な、絶対楽しいから。
I think he is going to get mad because I strongly suspect that he's going to get hit in the head by one of your snowballs. Okay, I guess a few minutes couldn't hurt. After all, it wasn't every day the snow fell this thick, so I wanted to make the best of it. I dug my hands into the snow and started to pack some projectiles of my own. Before long... Yeah, snowball fight CG. A snowball flew through the air near me, barely grazing my arm. Nagakura, you don't have to throw so hard. I picked up one of mine and threw it back, but I was no match for them. For each snowball I threw, they returned 5 or 6. And every single one was aimed at Heisuke. Well, I knew someone would be taking a snowball to the face. Hey, Heisuke, are you hurt?
大丈夫じゃねえけど大丈夫だ。つうか新八さん佐野さん、なんで俺ばっかり攻撃するんだよ。
ああ、なんだよ平介。じゃあもう一人を狙えっていうのか。
そうかそうか。千鶴ちゃん、俺らを恨むなよ。薄情な平助を恨め。
そんなのダメに決まってんだろ。
I don't think a couple of snowballs are really going to hurt me.
俺の心情的にダメなんだよ。よし、こうなりゃ佐野さんも新八さんもどんどん俺に投げてこい。そんなヘナチョコ玉当たってもいた。
If I hit you in the what? Heisuke.
いっていって石入ってんだろ。
人聞きの悪いこと言うなって。まあ確かに新八のバカ力で握ると石と大して変わらなくなっちまうがな。
So Shinpachi is throwing ice balls, not snowballs, huh? Would you please take it down a notch? I lobbed a snowball at them in protest, but they dodged it easily. This is frustrating somehow. But they were only getting started. Heisuke was backed up against a tree by a barrage of snowfire. He seemed to have given up on actually fighting back, and was instead wielding a long icicle like a sword and cutting down the incoming snowballs. Was this still really a snowball fight?
意外としぶといじゃねえか平助。
ま、ここまでよく頑張ったよ。だがこれで終わりだ。
へっ、どこ投げてんだよ二人とも。全然大外れだし。
He was right. Their throws seemed to be shooting awfully wide of the mark. Uh-oh! Uh-oh! I see where this is going. Not a single one of them even came near Heisuke. They all seemed to be hitting the tree behind him. Wait. Oh no, Heisuke, look up! Up! But it was too late. He looked up just as the now overloaded branches released their burden. Heisuke! 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 In the end, he'd crawled out from under the snow, ready to continue, but Hijikata had shown up and he hadn't been pleased. It seemed errant snowballs had put holes in several of the sliding doors. Oh, that's worse than beating Hijikata in the face. Harada and Nagakura took the lion's share of the blame, and the fight was ended then and there. The adventure soaked Heisuke from head to toe. Fortunately, I had a fire in my room over which he was drying his hair. Stop moving! You're going to catch a cold if you run off with wet hair. His hair was much longer than mine. It was going to take a while for it to dry. He smiled as I wiped it carefully with a towel. Nagakura had likened him to a dog earlier, and he did indeed look like one. A very, very wet one.
それにしても、 さっきの 俺すげえ情けなかった。
What?
ほら、今回は2人がお前を狙わなかったからよかったけどさ、絶対当てさせないなんて言っときながら、実際に狙ってきたら防げたかわかんねえし、今日は完全に負け戦だよな。
He seemed so sad. Okay. You were heroic, or sorry I couldn't help you out. I feel like the first one. Let's do that. Now he's a sad wet puppy. Or although this one could actually be good too. You were really heroic out there. I thought so, at least.
いや、そう言ってくれるのは嬉しいけどさ、俺は自分で納得いかないんだよ。
Okay, that does not seem to have been the right answer. Maybe I should have gone for this one. No, it's my fault. I should have had your back. If I'd done better, then maybe we could have beaten them.
なんだ千鶴、お前って案外過激なやつなんだな。
This seems to be making him happier, at least. Maybe neither of them were for points. He smiled. Ah, no, wait, there we go. We just hadn't got far enough through.
そうだな。じゃあ今日はお互いまだまだだったってことで。
And you nigh it. Darn it. No, not quite.
So, できればさ、次に雪合戦するときも同じ組でやろうな。
The next snowball fight, whenever that will be. Yeah, next time we'll win.
そうだな。
He looked at me for a long moment and I saw his face fall.
なあ、千鶴。
What is it?
もし仮にさ、自分の中に譲れない信念があって、自分の信じる道を行きたいとする。
Ah, yes, a friend. Definitely a friend. Huh?
でも、もしその道を貫くために障害となる相手を排除する必要があるとしたら、お前ならどうする？
For a moment, I just stared at him. The question had been so unexpected. I wasn't sure what to make of it. But it didn't take me long to realize that whatever had prompted the question, it meant a great deal to Heisuke. I chose my words very carefully. I think it's wrong to get rid of someone just because they don't see eye to eye with you. Well, at least that's what I would have said.
昔の？
You know, before. But after spending so much time with the Shinsengumi, I think I'm starting to understand. They're all doing what they do because they believe in what they're fighting for. And the guys on the other side feel the same way. It's not about who's good or who's bad. There are just some people in the world that you're never going to be able to get along with. Of course, I still can't really get behind actually killing people, but...
そうだな。誰とでも簡単に分かり合えるなら、 俺たちが戦い続ける必要もないだろうしな。
A samurai is someone who follows the path he thinks is the right one. Isn't that how it works? I don't think it's bad to fight for your beliefs.
そっか。やっぱお前に話してよかったよ。俺さ、自分が正しいと思うものが全てをかけるに足るものかどうか悩んでたんだ。そしてきっと今でもまだ悩んでる。
His voice faded out as he looked down into the glowing coals.
でもお前のおかげで吹っ切れた。俺は一人の侍として道を貫こうと思う。
Heisuke? He was still clearly plagued with doubts and sadness, and yet he still smiled through it all. His smile was just so beautiful that it made a sense of dread well up within me. Being a warrior and a member of the Shinsengumi was very important to Heisuke, but I sensed something else was going on, throwing him into turmoil. I didn't know what, but it seemed clear that whatever else he intended to do, it would involve following his own path to the very end. Maybe that was to be expected, but it didn't change the fact I hoped he'd live. Those were the honest thoughts passing through my mind as I gazed at his profile. Ooh, Chapter 4. March 1867. And I believe, are we officially on Heisuke Routes? Or is this just a chapter that focuses on Heisuke? Yeah, there's one way we can find that out. Save. It is a chapter that focuses on Heisuke. March 1867. Oh, look, Okuta! The cherry blossoms are in full bloom, look! The seasons changed and spring came. Kyoto was filled with cherry blossoms, and the whole city took on a festive atmosphere. Surrounded by the gentle cheer of spring, my footsteps felt somehow lighter.
このところ暖かくなってきたし、今日はいい天気だし、浮かれる気持ちもわからなくはないけど、一緒に歩いてる僕たちのことも少しは考えてほしいな。
I glanced around me. The townspeople were staring at me dubiously. Al, be careful. Maybe I had let my guard down because things had quieted down a bit. I sighed slightly and took in my surroundings. Okita?
何?
In the alleyway over there. It seems to be a few Ronin that saw us and snuck away.
そんなのいちいち気にしてもしょうがないでしょ。
Really?
もし本当に尊重派な老子だったら、もっと堂々としているはずだよ。僕らの姿を見て慌てて逃げるような連中は正直言って雑魚だよ、雑魚。
I see.
まあ僕たちに絡んでくるほど度胸がある老子なんて今の今日にはいないと思うけどね。
The Shinsengumi's gotten pretty famous around Kyoto, hasn't it? My uniform stands out a lot too.
まあ目立って困ることもあるけどね。
When the men wore their uniforms, people seemed to notice them at first glance, which at first seemed like a good thing, but There was some debate among the Shinsengumi as to whether or not they should adopt a new uniform. Some people, such as Ito, felt the uniform should be changed because it wasn't fashionable. Well, that's a terrible reason to change it. Is Ito back in Kyoto yet?
そうみたいだね。別に帰ってこなくてもよかったんだけど。
Don't be like that. He went to go recruit some of his friends and acquaintances, right?
まあ、そういうことになってるけど。実際、どこまで行ってきたんだろうね。
I didn't hear the details, but I heard he went to more places than he originally planned. If he put in all that effort, then he must really care about the Shinsengumi, right? Or furthering his own agenda, Chizuru.
君はそう思ってるんだ。
Am I wrong?
違わないけどね。
He seemed to be insinuating something and continued in a mutter.
近藤さん、優しいからな。あんな人、早く切っちゃえばいいのに。
You really shouldn't, Okita. You joke about killing one of your companions.
どうしね。
He scoffed, then fell silent. Ever since Ito had first arrived, Okita and the rest of the captains had never really warmed up to him. Nonetheless, him saying it aloud in public still surprised me. I glanced around to make sure no one had been paying attention. As I was looking around... Oh, it's Kaoru! Oh! There, in the crowd, a face I'd seen before. I stopped walking. Was that Kaoru? The face that looked back could easily have been mine. There was no way I could ever mistake it. But no sooner had I spotted her than she disappeared, melting into the crowd. Kaoru!
ちょっと、どこに行くつもり？
He called out to stop me as I left the ranks. I might get in trouble for it, but if I didn't go quickly, I'd lose her. Sorry, Okita. There's something I have to do. I caught a glimpse of his confused face as I ducked into the crowd.
勝手な行動は慎めっていつも言ってると思うんだけど、面倒を見させられるこっちの身にもなってほしいな。
I ran as fast as I could, bobbing and weaving through the crowd. At last I caught up to her.
あなたは
She was Kaoru. No mistake.
どうなさったんです？そんなに息を切らせて。
I'm sorry for surprising you, that is. Kaoru, do you remember me?
ええ、新選組の方たちと一緒にいた人ですよね。覚えていますよ。
May I ask you something?
何でしょう？
I gulped. I knew I had to choose my words carefully when asking her. Yeah, this is about, whether she interfered with the, at the bulletin board. Right? One of the Shinsengumi saw a girl who looked like me at the Sanjo Ohashi Bridge a while ago. Could that have been you?
さあ、三条大橋は普通に通るところですけど、もし私がそこに行ったとして何か問題が終わりになるのですか？
Oh. I was embarrassed for asking her what seemed to be an irrelevant question. Her eyes narrowed.
もしかしてあなたがお聞きになりたいのは 夜にその場所へ行ったことがあるかどうかではありませんか？
Well, that sounds an awful lot like you have been. Could it be? If you got in the Shinsengumi's way that night.
もしそうなら問題大ありだね。君には死んでもらわなきゃならないかな。
I see we've been followed. Oh, Okita! He'd been quick to catch up with me.
これは新選組の沖田さん。いつぞやはどうもありがとうございました。
She bowed, but Okita didn't even seem to notice.
で、答えはどっちなのかな？心当たりはあるの？ないの
Okita wore his usual half smile, but his body was as tight as a bowstring. He looked ready to draw his blade at any moment.
死んでもらうなんて、そんな恐ろしいことおっしゃらないでくださいな。三条大橋なんて昼間は誰でも通るところではありませんか。それに夜なんて、あの警察の騒ぎがありましたから怖くて近づけません。ただ雪村さんに顔が似ているというだけで私を疑うなんてひどいです。
She sadly looked down and I rushed to shake my head. Oh, of course! I understand. I'm sorry for asking something so rude. I guess it really wasn't her. Or she's lying. I felt embarrassed for even doubting her for a second, so I apologized.
甘いな。そんな簡単に疑いを解くなんて。もし犯人だとしても、自分から私がやりましたなんて言うわけないじゃない。
Well...
彼女を信じてあげようと思ったのはどうして？自分と似た顔をしてるから？それとも女の子だから？
I mean, it's probably both of those things. I didn't have an answer. Kaoru then took one step back.
もう行っても構いませんか？用事がありますから失礼します。
Kaoru. She turned and ducked away, disappearing back into the crowd. Had I done the right thing, I wondered, in covering for her? I was pondering whether or not I should give chase when I heard Okita begin to cough. Okita! Are you alright? Okita!
来るな!
As I stepped toward him, he threw out a hand to stop me.
大丈夫。だから。
Yeah, you don't sound fine.
君はそこでじっとしていて。
You don't sound fine and you're deliberately keeping away someone you know knows medical stuff. It was the sheer force emanating from him that stopped me, not just his words. He coughed as if his lungs were collapsing. Eventually, the fit slowed, then subsided entirely. He finally stopped coughing, and he wiped his sweat as he looked up. Okita, are you really all right?
何が？
I mean, why don't we find somewhere to rest? You don't look too well.
顔色が悪いのは君を追いかけて走ってきたせいだよ。それに今は巡察の最中でしょ。休んでる暇なんてあるはずないじゃない。
But
もう大丈夫さ。落ち着いたから。それよりもさっきの人、カオルさんのことだけど、生殺事件のことを確かめたかった気持ちはよくわかる。大事なことだからね。
Notice board incident. The Shinsengumi arrested people responsible for removing the Sanjo Ohashi notice board put up by the government.
でもそれならなおのこと、一人で動くのは無謀だよ。もし彼女が敵で仲間が近くに隠れてたらどうするつもりだったの？君一人で対処できた？
Well...
無用な心配だったって言い切れる？彼女が君をおびき寄せるつもりだったとしたら、この場所は人目にもつかないし、叫んでも声が届きにくい格好の襲撃場所だよ。
Yep. Yeah, Chizuru, don't follow people into empty back streets. You're right. She hadn't tried to attack me, but Okita was right. Next time I might not be so lucky. I could have easily run right into a trap. And if that were to happen, there was no guarantee I would come out unscathed.
巡察に同行している以上、行動には注意してくれないと。君は役立たずの子供なんだってこと、少しは自覚したら。
Rude but true, Okita. Rude but true. I clenched my fists and looked down. I'm sorry. I felt bad causing him extra stress, so I apologized. He sighed. Well, yes, to be fair, we do have... Well, no. Even though we do have rapid healing, I feel like there is damage that could be done that would not... that we wouldn't be able to heal fast enough from.
Yare yare. お説教なんて柄じゃないんだけどね。妙な遠慮はやめなよ。頼るべき時は頼ればいいんだからさ。君には散々迷惑かけられてるし、今さら何とも思わないけどね。
He let out a snort of laughter. That night, after everyone else had gone to bed, I lay awake thinking about what had happened. I couldn't forget what Okita had said. A useless kid. He was right. But still, having it pointed out to me again made me feel quite sad. I lay there, staring at the ceiling. My actions today were no doubt reckless. If I'd done anything like that before, I would have been killed, no questions asked. The fact that I'd gotten away with just a lecture was proof they'd started trusting me a little more. Still, I couldn't go on like this. Tomorrow, I start working harder. But no sooner had I closed my eyes. A loud crash made my eyes fly back open. What on earth? sat up in bed just as the door came toppling into my room. And standing there was one of the Shinsengumi's soldiers. Is something wrong? I called out to him, on guard, but he remained quiet. Did you need something? Uh-oh. I squinted to get a clearer picture. His hair flashed white. His eyes were ominously red. They bore holes into me. He was one of the Furies. He was completely mad, just like the warrior I saw that one night in Kyoto. I had to call for help. I couldn't possibly face a deranged superhuman monster on my own. I breathed in and was about to call for help. No, I couldn't call for help. If I did, then the secret of the Furies would get out. I had to find another way. But no. Before I had time to think, I caught the flash of moonlight on metal. His sword hissed through the air. The blade sliced into the flesh of my upper arm. Pain seared through my arm. The Fury saw my blood dripping, and the madness in his eyes intensified. Blood oozed from the cut. I pressed down on it desperately, but to no avail. Is our ability going to get exposed? Yeah. For sure, right? A thick red liquid spilled between my fingers, flowed down my arm and dripped onto the floor. The Fury became increasingly erratic, and he started licking the blood-stained sword. He then creeped towards me, his movements odd and jerky. Oh! My back hit the wall. I was going to die. Just when I prepared myself for death, I suddenly remembered Okichi's words from earlier that day.
妙な遠慮はやめなよ。頼るべき時は頼ればいいんだからさ。
Okita, everyone! Someone, help! He went down on his hands and knees, licking my blood off the floor. There was no warrior there. There wasn't even a person in him anymore. I used the distraction to put some distance between us. Please, I silently begged, let someone come. He looked up from the floor. His mouth was smeared with dark red blood. My arm wouldn't stop bleeding. My sleeve was soaked through. His eyes locked onto it, and I saw them light up with animal hunger. His grin was a nightmarish thing. Yeah, while our healing is accelerated, I think you kind of have to stop the bleeding first. He rose from the floor and lunged at me. He was going to kill me. I froze.
伏せろ！いいって言うまで絶対に頭を上げるんじゃねえ！
Ah, hello, Hijikata. I heard a voice and immediately threw myself down onto the floor. The Fury seemed to be shocked to see Hijikata coming out from nowhere. He raised his sword to attack, but the commander was faster. The Fury's twisted cry reverberated through the room. He writhed in agony, but his wound was already healing.
今のうちだ。雪村、こっちへ来い。
Yes! As I ran to his side, I heard more footsteps pounding down the hallways.
千鶴ちゃん、無事か？
こいつまさか。
こいつこの間落ち水を飲まされた大使だな。ここまで狂っちまっちゃ生かしておくわけにはいかねえか。
At some unspoken signal, a chorus of blades slid from their scabbards.
新発案佐野さん、抜かるんじゃねえぞ。
てめえ誰に物を言ってやがるんだ。
羅刹だろうがなんだろうが、波の大使に遅れを取るわけねえだろ。
I quickly fanned out, circling the wounded soldier. There was no escape.
悪く思うなよ。
The captains all attacked at once, and the Fury was killed almost instantly. I breathed a sigh of relief. It was all over. Or so I thought.
こんな夜中に何の騒ぎですの？
Well, that's not a good sign.
伊藤さん。
Ito rubbed his still sleepy eyes, stepped into the room, and froze.
何なのですかこれは。そこの大使には見覚えがありますわ。確か待機違反で切腹させたはずでは。
The code. Shinsengumi regulations that were to be strictly obeyed.
それにこの地、あなた方の仕業ですの？
伊藤さん、違うんだ。これはさ。
His death penalty was just delayed by a day. Yeah.
何が違うのですか？幹部総出で寄ってたかって大使をなぶり殺しにするなんて。
Well, Ito, he was sentenced to death.
誰か説明なさい。一体何があったんです？
Ito was fuming and screaming.
皆さん申し訳ありません。私の不注意が原因です。
Uh-oh. Sanan! Seeing Sanan, Ito's eyes grew wide.
三男さん？なぜ亡くなったはずのあなたがここに？
The captains fell silent.
これ以上隠し通すこともできねえか。
Well, unfortunately, Ito's going to learn something tonight.
雪村、お前は席を外して。今夜は俺の部屋を使って構わねえ。
Me being here wouldn't do any good, but would they be all right? Would they be able to properly explain the situation to Ito? There was so much to worry about. But Hijikata looked at me sternly.
聞こえねえの。席を外せって言った。
Yes. I was worried, but I knew there was nothing else I could do, so I left the room. Huh? Is it morning already? I was woken up by chirping birds. I shot up, initially thrown off by the unfamiliar ceiling. I remembered that Hijikata had told me to stay in his room for the night. I assume that, like, our room is next to his room, being his page, right? That's my assumption. Which also helps with him arriving relatively fast to our call for help. At the same time, the events of last night were beginning to flood back into my mind. The warrior who'd gone mad. The pain of the blade slicing my arm. I touched my right arm wrapped in bandages. I couldn't feel the throbbing pain anymore. I took off my bandage to see my injury. Of course it's healed. What had been an ugly open wound the night before was now little more than a faint white line. By tomorrow, even that would be gone. I wouldn't need any bandages anymore, but... well, I guess it's good the wound is gone. But if anyone sees this... I wrapped myself back up again. It would be inconvenient to wear, but I would pretend to still be injured. I wondered what everyone was doing. I headed to the common room to see what was going on. Ah, secret is safe for now. Unfortunately,
あなたは
other secrets. Ito, Miki, and Saito and Heisuke. What are you all doing so early in the morning?
そりゃあれだけのことがあった後、のんびり寝ていられるほど無神経ではありませんわ。雪村くん、怪我をしていたでしょ？傷の様子はどうなのかしら？
Well, it's not as bad as it looked.
そう、それは何よりですわね。
Despite the events he'd witnessed last night, Ito seemed to now be in rather high spirits. Has something good happened, Ito?
知りたい？
Yes, I would.
教えてあげない。ま、だいたい想像はついてるかもしれないけど。ねえ、東堂くん、斉藤くん。
Puzzled, I looked over at Heisuke and Saito.
まあな。
The moment our eyes met, he looked away. Why? Saito?
今は知る必要はないということだ。
Unlike Heisuke, Saito met my gaze straight on. However, his eyes were flat and utterly devoid of any emotion. It was as if he put up a wall.
なんだ。別れの挨拶にしちゃちとそっけなさすぎないか？
Nope. He's not happy about that info.
それとも実はこんなところからはさっさと出ていきたいってのが本音なのか？
Get out of here?
三郎、余計なことは言わなくてもよろしくてよ。それでは、私たちはもう行きますわ。雪村くん、ごきげんよう。
それではな、雪村。
またな。
The four of them left without another word. I was left wondering what on earth had just happened.
おや、雪村くん。もう起きてて大丈夫なのかい？
I'm fine. I slept really well and I feel a lot better. And my wound doesn't seem to be as deep as it looked.
それは良かった。しかし、災難でしたね。
It's all right, but more importantly, I ran into Ito on my way here. He was acting very peculiar. Did something happen? Inoue and Shimada looked at one another, both wearing troubled expressions.
そうか。あったのかい。
Both Ito and Miki were behaving rather strangely, and so were Heisuke and Saito. I was starting to feel concerned, looking at the two of them for an answer. After some thought, Shimada opened up.
実はですね、伊藤さんたちはここを出ていくことになったんです。
What? Leaving?
新しく隊を立てることにしたらしい。新選組とは別にね。
Are they allowed to do that?
近藤局長と土方副長が伊藤さんと話し合って決めたということです。
五両英字ですと？
Guardians of the Imperial Tomb, an organization that guarded the Emperor's tomb. It was formed by Kashitaro Ito after his departure from the Shinsengumi.
いかにもこの糸同志と共にここを出て孝明天皇の御領英字を拝命する所存ですわ。
Kashitaro Ito parted ways with the Shinsengumi due to philosophical differences, prompting him to found the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb.
まあ以前から考えていたことではあるのですけど、あんな場面を見せられた以上これ以上一緒にやっていくのは難しいと思いまして、もともと私は尊皇攘夷の志を持って新選組に協力していたつもりですけれど、あなたたちとはどうにも水が合わないようですし。
Yeah, he saw the Furies and decided he wanted nothing to do with that.
くだらねえへりくつはいい。伊藤さん、あんた要するに太陽を割ろうって言うんだろ
う。3年にもわたってこの私をたばかってらしたのはどちらでしたかしら。
まあ伊藤さんがそこまでおっしゃるのであれば仕方がありません。だがご説明したようにこたびの一件の発端は幕府からの密命なのです。もし外に漏らされては我々としても黙っているわけにはいきません。
そこは取引というものですわ。あなたたちは我々に口をつぐんでいてほしいご様子ですし、私たちは黙ってここを出ていきたい。ですから出るにあたって大使を分けていただきたいと申し上げているだけですわ。
わかりました。ですが連れて行くからには本人の承諾をお願いします。
それはもちろんです。表向きは協力関係にあるという形を取らせていただきますし、その方がお互いにとっても都合がよろしいのではないかしら。
ということだそうだ。トシ、これでいいか。
近藤さんがそう決めたなら俺はもう何も言わねえよ。
Then Heisuke and Saito. Heisuke Todo. He left the Shinsengumi with Kashitaro Ito to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. Hajime Saito. He left the Shinsengumi along with Kashitaro Ito to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. Unfortunately, we are separated from Heisuke again.
伊藤さんについていくそうだよ。驚いたね。伊藤さんと昔からの知り合いだった東堂君はともかく、斉藤君はそんな様子は全くなかったのに。
No. Then, would that mean I could never see them again?
心配することはないよ、雪村君。言っただろう。これは友好的な関係を前提とした分離だ。
Kondo. Kondo was kind enough to smile and attempt to comfort me. Any other time, it would have worked. Now, I simply couldn't shake off the uneasiness stirring in my heart. I couldn't say with any certainty, but I had the feeling that something terrible was going to befall the Shinsengumi and its members.
そうは言っても、今後はエジと新選組大使との交流は禁止するつもりなんだろう。
The Guardians. Shorthand for the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb, who were founded by Ito after leaving the Shinsengumi.
当然だ。これ以上あいつらの好き勝手にさせるつもりはねえから。
But is this all really all right? Ito and the others leaving, I mean.
伊藤派の奴らが抜けたところで困ることはねえよ。ま、平助と斎藤も一緒だっていうのは少しばかり計算外だったか
な。まあな。彼らの期待に応えられなかった我々の落ち度でもあるな。
The captains each gave their thoughts on the matter. There was nothing more I could say. The decision had already been made. I got up quietly and left the common room. I can't believe this is happening. I looked up to the sky, watching the clouds form in streaks above me, and then lowered my gaze. It seemed like just yesterday that we were all living our normal lives at the compound. Then, all of a sudden, here we were, helpless as our troops split up. I couldn't wrap my head around it. However, even with all of my confusion, I was especially worried about... I assume the Guardians is specifically the people who are leaving to join for that, so yeah. I'm worried about Heisuke. What worried me most were the people leaving with Ito. Heisuke and Saito. Would I ever get to see them again? Was this goodbye? I wanted to know what they were thinking. Were they still around? As I stood up to go look for them, I spotted Yamazaki.
Yukimura-kun.
Oh, Yamazaki.
昨晩怪我をしたそうだな。傷の具合はどうなんだ？
Yes, I'm fine. Have you seen Heisuke and Saito?
東堂さんと斉藤さんか。
His expression turned grim at the mention of their names. It was quite clear how he felt about the men who'd chosen to leave the Shinsengumi with Ito. I'm sorry for asking. I turned quickly to leave, but he held out a hand to stop me.
境内だ。向こうに行くのをさっき見かけた。
Thank you.
話をするなら早い方がいい。彼らがここを出た後はそれすらも許されなくなるからな。
Yes. They were. Heisuke, Saito. I turned around with reserved expressions.
やっぱ捕まっちまったか。
Oh, did you want to be left alone?
んなことないって。俺もちゃんと話したいって思ってたからさ。
Thank you.
やはり来たか。話があるなら早く済ませてくれ。
Right. I just wanted to hear it from you. Why are you leaving the Shinsengumi?
理由か。
He scrunched up his face and scratched nervously at the side of his cheek.
伊藤さんは同じ流派の先輩だし、昔から知ってるしさ。あの人が新選組に入ったのは、俺が誘ったのがきっかけだったんだし。だから、一緒に行動する義務があるんじゃねえかなって。そう思ったんだよ。
Heisuke had always struck me as kind, so it was no surprise that he felt he couldn't abandon Ito. But that means you'll leave everyone else behind. You might not ever get to see them again.
いきなり分派って言われて、俺もちょっと動揺してるところはあるんだけどさ。けど俺、もともと幕府に尽くしたいって思ってたわけじゃねえし、例の薬のこととかいろいろ考えると、伊藤さんが言う御領絵師の方が合ってる気がするんだ。
Couldn't really think of anything to say, so I kept my mouth shut. After a moment, he continued.
俺だって、本当はみんなとずっとバカ騒ぎしてたかったさ。だって、江戸にいた頃から今までずっと一緒だったもんな。
His gaze drifted off into the distance. His profile seemed almost heartbreakingly lonely, but his mouth was a hard line. His mind was made up. What about you, Saito? I looked up at him, hoping he would say something to put my mind at ease.
自らの志に合うと感じて、伊藤派に属することに決めた。
Are you a national imperialist too?
征夷大将軍というのは本来、夷敵を排するためにある役職。害意を払うという本分を忘れた幕府に尽くす道理はあるまい。
So, you're saying that Kondo and Hijikata are wrong?
そうだ。
And because you don't agree with them, you're willing to walk away and never see them again?
それもやむを得んだろう。己の志を貫くためには、情などに頓着するべきではない。
But... I'm pretty sure the answer is wanted them to stay. Yes, I do. Are you sure you won't change your mind? Stay here with the Shinsengumi? I can't be the only person who doesn't want you to go. I'm sure everyone wishes you could stay with us forever. I knew they had their reasons to go, but I just couldn't bring myself to accept it. There was still time. If I could just convince them, make them understand, then they wouldn't have to leave. Please, Heisuke, Saito.
言わないでくれって。俺たちだって昨日今日決めたわけじゃねえんだからさ。
話はそれだけか。ならば俺はもう行かせてもらう。
Are you sure? But if you go, then you might have to... You might have to fight the Shinsengumi someday.
言ったはずだ。志の前では情など無用のものだと。
Saito! His mind was made up. There was nothing I could say to change it.
強いよな、はじめくんは。
His eyes followed Saito as he walked away. Do you feel the same way? Can you just forget about your feelings? Would it be so easy for you to fight your friends?
俺はそういうのは。
He looked away, biting his lip. He seemed frustrated at his own inability to put his feelings into words. Eventually,
なあ、ちょっと中庭の方に行ってみないか。
his suggestion was unexpected. However, it didn't feel as if he was trying to avoid my question. Perhaps he wanted to buy some time to think about his response? Alright, let's go.
すっかり暖かくなったな。
He lifted his face to the sky for a moment. It was a cool, clear blue. Warm rays of sunlight washed down on us.
ちょっと座ろうぜ、そこ。
Okay. I sat down next to him.
なんかさ、みんなは伊藤さんのことを嫌ってるけど、俺はさ、伊藤さんの言うことが全部間違ってるとは思えねえんだ。このまま幕府の言う通りに働いても、正直言って先はねえと思う。幕府のお偉いさん方は俺たちのことを使い捨ての駒としか思ってねえだろうし。
I'm sure that's not. Considering the serum and everything else, I couldn't blame him for questioning and having concerns about the shogunate. Still, was leaving people he'd been with for so long and following Ito really the right thing to do? Perhaps he was thinking that Ito would be able to handle everything better than Kondo.
伊藤さんからいろんな話を聞いたんだ。幕府のお偉いさん方がどれだけ腐ってるか、今の日本がどんなに危ねえ状況に置かれてるか。もちろん伊藤さんが言ってることが全部正しいとは俺も思ってねえよ。伊藤さんも伊藤さんでなんか考えがあるんだろうってことも分かってるし。
Then
でもさ、昨べの伊藤さんの様子を見て俺改めて思ったんだ。同じ志を持って入隊してきた仲間を薬の実験の道具にしたり、そのことを他の大使に隠したりするのはどう考えてもおかしいって。いつの間にか俺もみんなもそれが当たり前だと思うようになっちまってたけどさ。
Isuke.
でも一つだけ分かってくれよ。俺はみんなのことが嫌いになったわけじゃねえから。それだけは嘘じゃねえからさ。
Right. I understood where Heisuke was coming from. I was sure he'd spent a lot of time thinking over all of this, even maybe stressing over it. If, after all of that internal deliberation, this was how he felt, I'd want him to honor it, but I know, I just wanted to stay with you longer, Heisuke.
ありがとうな。そう言ってくれて嬉しいよ。そりゃあ俺だってお前と離れるのが寂しくねって言ったら嘘になるけど、 だけどよ、行くって決めたんだ。俺
I could tell he was wavering. Pushing my feelings onto him would only make this harder than it already was. I understand, Heisuke. It hurts to say goodbye. Heisuke and I felt the same way. Knowing that was enough for me.
千鶴、今までありがとうな。
Thank you for telling me how you really feel. I appreciate it.
よかった。お前にだけはちゃんと伝えておきたかったんだ。
Felt like our conversation had lifted a huge burden from Heisuke, and his bright smile returned.
それと、ごめんな。
Huh?
お前の親父さん見つけるまで付き合ってやれなくて。
No, it's alright. Don't worry about it. Just be careful, Heisuke.
ああ、わかってる。無駄に命を捨てるような真似はしねえさ。約束するって。
I'm sad now. My wound healed completely soon afterward, but I kept the bandages on. I didn't want anyone to see that my scar was gone. Since Ito, Heisuke, and Saito all left, the compound felt much larger and emptier. Around the same time, Takeda, one of the captains of the Shinsengumi, also left. I knew none of this could be helped, and yet it felt as if everyone was going in different directions, off to forge their own paths. I couldn't help but feel sad about it. (1867) June. So 3 months on, I believe. Or is it 2 months on? Beginning of June, 1867. 3 months had passed. Okay, it was 3 months, yeah. 3 months had passed since Ito had left the Shinsengumi, taking his men and others with him. Late one evening, I laid awake in my futon at an hour where I should have been asleep. I tossed and turned in my bed. My mind was wide awake. I wasn't falling asleep anytime soon. Was it because I'd trained earlier that day? I needed to get to sleep soon or I'd oversleep in the morning. I should just try to fall asleep. As I forced my eyes shut for the 1000th time, I heard someone calling out for me.
雪村、まだ起きてるか?
The voice outside belonged to Hijikata. I scrambled to my feet. Yes? What is it?
お前に来客だ。支度ができたら広間まで来てくれ。
A visitor? Late at night? A visitor? Who would come to visit me? Especially at such a late hour. I stood, puzzled, but I rushed to get dressed and shuffled towards the common room. I slid open the door and walked in, and I was surprised at what I saw.
やあ、すまないね。 休んでいるところを起こしてしまって。
Oh, that's fine, but...
髪、すごい寝癖だよ。言い直してくる暇すらなかったの？
What? Really? I'm so sorry, I...
掃除、くだらねえ冗談はやめろ。
Huh? It was a joke?
安心しろ。別に寝癖なんてついてねえよ。
よく来てくれましたね。そちらに座ってください。
Yes? Even Sanan was here. Seeing all the captains of the Shinsenkumi gathered, I shook with nerves. I went to sit down in the corner, but when I locked eyes with the person sitting in front of me, my eyes grew wide. Reason being, the person who was sitting was...
千鶴ちゃん、お久しぶりね。
is Sen and a ninja lady.
ごめんなさい。こんな夜遅くにお邪魔しちゃって。
Sen? So, my visitor was Sen? What could she be doing here? Only then did I notice a beautiful woman dressed as a ninja seated next to Sen.
彼女は私の連れよ。まあ、護衛役みたいなものだと思ってちょうだい。
Bodyguard? I looked at the captains, hoping someone would explain the situation.
お前にどうしても話してえことがあるんだ。
It seemed like he was letting me handle this. So, Sen, what brings you here today? We were barely more than acquaintances. Sen's serious gaze bore into me.
用というのは他でもないわ。私、あなたを迎えに来たの。
Eh? Come to take me? What do you mean? I don't understand what you're saying.
そうね。説明すると長くなるんだけど、何から話せばいいかしら。
Well, it seems that this is that this might be a kidnapping if we agree to it, which I don't think is technically a kidnapping, but it might as well be.
もはや一刻の猶予もありません。すぐにここを出る準備をしてください。
Wait! Hold on, please! Why should I go with you?
そうだぜ、わけがわからねえ。いきなり訪ねてきて彼女に会わせるなんて言い出すしよ。
あんたらこいつの親戚か何かか。こいつの方には心当たりはねえようだな。
Well, we can't exactly leave in our bedclothes, can we? Sen, can you explain a little more?
まあ、そうよね。いきなりこんなことを言っても、わけがわからないわよね。わかったわ。順を追って説明するわね。ちょっと時間がかかりそうだけど。
我々は席を外していた方がいいかね。
いえ、同席していてください。あなたたちにも関わりがあることですから。
He glanced around the room, looking at each of the captains, and started to speak.
あなたたち、風間を知っていますよね。何度か刀を交えていると聞きました。
How do you know Kazama, Sen?
なぜそのことを知ってる？
この今日で起きていることは、だいたい私の耳に入ってくるんです。
なるほ お前も奴らと似たようなうさんくさい連中の一味ってことか。
あんなのと一緒にされるのも不本意だけど、でも遠からずかしら。
まあいい、風間の話だったな。
あいつは池田や金門の変二条城と何度も俺たちの邪魔をしてきた薩長の仲間だろ。
Sacho, a way of referring to the Satsuma Choshu alliance, a contraction of both names.
仲間っていうより彼らは彼らで何か目的があるみたいだったけどね。
どっちにしても俺たちの敵ってのは確かだ。
彼らの狙いがそこにいる彼女だということも。
Ben fixed me with a level stare. What was going on? An odd sense of dread was working its way up in my chest. My gut was telling me that I shouldn't listen any further.
それも承知している。確か彼らは自らを鬼と名乗っている。信じているわけではないが。
いえ、鬼と言われた方が妥当でしょう。3人が3人とも人間離れした使い手ということですし、それなのに人の世界では全く名が通っていない。そんなことは本来ありえないことです。
三男さんがそういうことを言うのって珍しいですよね。
Please, go on, Sen.
彼らが人でないことはあなたたちもよくお分かりの様子ですね。ならば話は早いです。実を申せばこの私も人ではありません。彼らと同じ鬼なのです。
And I'd let you take me away. Why? In that case, Sen. You are?
本来の名は千姫と申します。
Princess Sen, an acquaintance of the heroine. They first met in Kyoto. She claims to be a demon. With that, she gave us an elegant bow. It was exactly what one might expect from a princess.
私は千姫様に代々仕えております忍びの家のものでございます。
なるほど。
I mean, I assume that given that we were told that our surname is a demon surname. So I assume she basically knows who we are. In a way that we do not.
初対面だっつうのにやけに愛想がいいと思ってたが、お前の狙いは花から俺を通じて新選組の情報を仕入れることか。
さあ、何のことにござりましょう。
She tilted her head to the side politely and met Hijikata's glare with an innocent smile. Ah yes, because we have met this lady before. It's not dressed like this.
なんだよ土方さん、知り合いなのか？
よく見ろ新八、君菊さんだ。
Yeah, Shinpachi, look at her face. You have seen it before, or maybe you didn't then either. Kimigiku. Her work as a Shimabara courtesan was only a cover. Her true role was as a spy and bodyguard for Princess Sen.
島原で会った時と風景は違うが、顔は同じだろ。
なんだって？
He Himigiko smiled graciously at how flustered he seemed.
この国には古来より鬼という生き物が住んでいました。幕府や諸藩の高い位にある者は皆知っていたことです。
Ah, the government knows.
ほとんどの鬼たちは人間と関わらず、ただ静かに暮らすことを望んでいました。ですが、鬼の強力な力に目をつけた時の権力者は自分たちに力を貸すよう求めました。
And did the demons obey?
多くの者は拒みました。人間たちの争いや彼らの野心になぜ自分たちが加担しなければならないのかと。ですが、そうして断った場合、圧倒的な兵力で押し寄せてきて村落を滅ぼされることさえあったのです。
How horrible.
鬼の一族は次第に各地に散り散りになり、人目を避けて暮らすようになりました。人との交わりが進んだ今では、純潔に近い鬼はそう多くはありません。
それがあの風間たちだということかな。
Nodded.
今、西国で最も血筋が良い家といえば、薩摩藩の後ろ盾を得ている風間家です。棟梁は風間千景。
Chikage Kazama.
そして東国で最も大きな家は雪村家。あなたの家よ、千鶴ちゃん。
What? I jumped upon hearing my name brought up so suddenly.
雪村家の鬼たちが隠れ住んでいた里は人間たちの手によって滅ぼされたと聞いています。ですが、彼女は雪村一族の生き残りではないか。私はそう考えています。
Ah, survivor of my village being wiped out.
千鶴ちゃん、あなたには特別に強い鬼の力を感じるの。
No, but I'm...
わかる限りではあるけど、お菊にもあなたの家のことを調べさせたわ。
信じられるのも無理はありませんが、まず間違いないかと。
The revelation of all of this was nearly impossible to comprehend. I was at a loss for words. I was being told that I was not a human, but a being called a demon. The main character was informed by Princess Sen that she is a demon. I couldn't believe it, but at the same time, all the odd things that occurred all made sense now. Now I knew why Kazama was after me. I always healed so much more quickly than anyone else. I tried my best to avoid the truth, but now I was being confronted with it. You're like, is Sen on Kazama's side? I don't think so.
純潔の鬼の子孫であれば、風間が彼女を求めるのも道理です。鬼の血筋が良い者同士が結ばれれば、より強い鬼の子が生まれるのですから。
なるほど。嫁にする気か。
風間は必ず彼女を奪いに来るでしょう。今のところ本気で仕掛けてきてはいないようですが、それがいつまで続くかは分かりません。そうなった時、あなたたちが守りきれるとは思えない。たとえ新選組だろうと、鬼の力の前では無力です。
なあ、千姫さんよ。無力ってのはちと言い過ぎじゃねえか。
新八の言う通りだ。ちっとばかし俺たちを見くびりすぎだぜ。
今まで互角に戦うことができたのは 彼らが本気ではなかったからです。
では本気になってもらおうではありませんか。本物の鬼の力とやらを見せていただきたいものですね。
Kazama and his companions had already demonstrated incredible strength. Even the captains of the Shinsengumi had been easily brushed aside. If that was not even the full extent of their strength, then a battle to the death against one of them would be...
シンパチや原田の言う通りだ。確かに連中は人並み以上の力は持ってやがったが、絶対に勝てねえほどの力の差はなかった。たとえ奴らが多少手加減してたとしても。
そうですね。こっちには泣く子も黙る鬼副長がいますし。
そうじ、君は黙ってろ。
お気持ちはよくわかりますが、実際にはそう簡単でないことは分かっていらっしゃるのでしょう。あなたたちの役目は今日の治安を守ることであって、彼女を守ることではないのですし。ですから私たちに任せてください。私たちなら彼女を守りきれます。
おいおい、決めつけんじゃねえよ。俺たちじゃあいつらに勝てねえってのか。
言葉は悪いが、そっちの戦力は女が2人だろ。あんたらの細腕で風間や天霧、白縫と渡り合えるとは思えねえんだがな。
何よりよそ者が僕たち新選組の内情に口を出さないでほしいよね。
Sen and Kimigiku seemed to be thrown off by the captain's reactions.
土方さんはどうお考えですか。風間たちの力を承知しているあなたなら、姫のお話お分かりいただけるのではありませんか。彼女をこちらに渡してくださいな。
それとこれとは話が違う。鬼ごときに恐れをなして一旦守ると決めた相手を放り出すってのは俺たちのやり方じゃねえ。それにあんた方が鬼だってのは100歩譲って認めてやってもいいが、だからって別にあんた方を信用したわけじゃねえか。
随分な物言いですわね。千姫様は鈴鹿御前様の血を引く。
Suzuka Gozen, a demon woman said to have lived on Suzuka Mountain. She fell in love with Tamamoro Sakanue and went to live with him in Yase.
大きくおやめなさい。今はそのようなことを言っている時ではありません。
The tone was calm, but it left no room for argument.
私も土方君に同意します。もし彼女が人とは違う生き物の血を引いているのだとすれば、今後いろいろとご協力願いたいこともありますしね。
I'd rather not, Sana. Kimigiku glared at him. She probably didn't say anything out of interest in saving Sen's face.
そうですか。困りましたね。どうしても承知してはいただけませんか。
ちょっと待ってくれるかね。肝心なことを確かめていないじゃないか。
肝心なこと？
Yeah, it kind of feels like there's one person you haven't asked the opinion of here. See, Kondo understands whose opinion is most important here. Me? Well, I couldn't give an immediate answer. It wasn't that I was doubting Sen and Kimigiku, but...
そうか。我々の前では何かと話しにくいかもしれないな。 よかったら千姫さんと二人で話してくるといい。
近藤さん、そいつは。
Hijikata tried to protest, but Kondo didn't back down.
せめて誰か一人立ち会うべきでしょう。あちらも君菊さんに同席してもらえばいいのですし。
まあいいじゃないか。我々は今までずっと彼女の意思を無視し続けてたんだしな。彼女がここを出たいというのであれば止めることなどできんだろう。
Kondo.
ったく、相変わらず甘いんだな、あんたは。
ま、近藤さんが言うんじゃ仕方ないですよね。
His words spoke for the rest of them as well. Such was the weight of Kondo's words as chief. But more than his title, his charisma was enough to sway them.
二人きりになった途端、そのまま彼女を連れ去るなどということはないでしょうね。
心配は無用です。鬼は一度交わした約束は守りますから。
We'll be fine. Sen isn't a bad person.
ありがとう、千鶴ちゃん。
When she smiled, her expression returned to that of a girl her age. A few moments later, we found ourselves alone in my room.
突然押しかけられた上、いろいろなことを言われて混乱したでしょう。ごめんなさいね。本来ならこんなやり方はしないんだけど。
No, it's all right. I'm sorry about the others. They were so rude to you.
まあ、あれぐらいは予想してたから。いきなりあんな話を信用しろって方が無茶だもんね。鬼と呼ばれる生き物が本当に存在してるなんて簡単に信じられる人間はそうそういないし。それよりもさっきの提案どうかな。ちゃんと考えてみてくれる
To go with her or not. If Sen had come to me when I'd first arrived in Kyoto, I might well have taken her up on her offer. But now...
新選組の人たちはあなたを守れると言ってたけど、私は無理だと思う。
Perhaps what she said was true. The Shinsengumi men were indeed powerful and skilled. I'd seen them face overwhelming odds and emerge victorious. But always those odds had been only human. The enemy this time was a demon. The strength of even a single one was something great and terrible. We'd all seen so firsthand. And some had even lost their lives to that strength. The captains of the Shinsengumi might suffer the same fate.
今後、今日の政局はますます混乱するはずよ。そんな時に風間がやってきたらどうなると思う？あなたは新選組から離れるべきだわ。そうすれば彼らも心置きなく戦える。
And her eyes were serious, but warm and honest. Whatever else she might be, the concern for me was real. Thank you, Sen, but I just couldn't get myself to agree.
もしかしてここから離れたくない理由でもあるの？
There is.
誰か心に思う人がいるとか。
Well, he's not physically here right now, but yes. What? Her question had been entirely innocent, though it had caught me off guard. I couldn't possibly lie to her. What should I tell her? Yes. Let's be honest. There is, actually. I nodded and calmly returned Sen's gaze. She seemed a little surprised, but a look of relief spread over her face.
そっか。それが誰なのかまでは聞かないけど、あなたが一人の女の子として見つけたものがここにはあるのね。それなら離れろなんて言えるはずないか。
Sen understands. Thank you for waiting.
どうだった？結論は出たかな？
Before I could speak, Sen stepped forward.
はい。彼女のことをこれまで通りよろしくお願いします。
Sen.
姫様、よろしいのですか、本当に。
ええ、もう決めたことだから、今は彼女の意思を優先しましょう。
わかった。そういうことなら今後も我々新選組が責任を持って彼女の身を預からせてもらおうじゃないか。
まあ大船に乗ったつもりで任せとけって。
新八の船は泥船だけどな。しかしまあよかったな。
ここに残るなんて君も物好きだね。
Rude as always, Ekita.
肝が据わってるのか、単に鈍感なだけなのか。
言っておくが、客人扱いする気はねえからな。お前の待遇は今までと同じだ。
I mean, the same treatments I've always had is kind of a little bit special treatment that she gets. Of course. Thank you, all of you, for letting me stay. Sen took my hands in hers.
千鶴ちゃん、くれぐれも気をつけてね。私はいつでもあなたの味方だから。
Thank you, Sen. She gave me one last warm smile, and then Sen and Kimikiku were gone. I'm going to take the scene break as an opportunity to get more water. I will be right back. And I'm back. Once again, sleep refused to come. My mind worked furiously, turning over everything Sen had told me, examining it from every angle. I was a demon. Not only that, but I was the head of a pure-blooded demon clan that was nearly destroyed. My heritage was the reason for Kazama's continued interest. I decided to stay with the Shinsengumi. Was that really for the best? Should I have left instead? I wanted to stay, of course. As these thoughts were running wild in my head. Uh-oh. A sudden sound from outside made me jump. That sound, could it be?
Yukimura-kun, yabun osoku shitsurei shimasu.
I heard Shimada from the hallway. Yes? The door snapped open as Shimada stepped in. His eyes darted back and forth, his body tense. Has something happened?
はい。鬼たちが豚舎に襲撃をかけてきました。
Well, that would be why Sen and Kimikuku wanted me to get me out immediately. Yep. What?
奴らの狙いは君です。この部屋でじっとしていてください。
But I was the reason they'd come here. How could I justify sitting on my hands? I didn't know what to do. Ooh. 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 Now that's a question. I'm gonna make this a full save just in case. Okay. Stay here is what we've been told to do. Go find the others. They are probably in the middle of fighting. Leave the compound. Feels bad. I mean, it depends what leave the compound really means. Like, on the one hand, we could probably be quite easily got if we do that. On the other hand, our fave is not currently in the compound. Which kind of makes me feel like maybe we should leave? I don't know. I'm leaning towards this one. It's the really stupid answer. That is probably like the worst thing we could possibly do. We might somehow meet Sen again, maybe. Right. Leave the compound feels the most likely to end up finding Heisuke again, right? But it also feels the most likely to get me got by demons. So we can see the consequences of making the worst decision. Alright, sure. After me. If I leave the compound, then I won't cause any more trouble for anyone. For everyone.
そんなこと、誰も迷惑などとは思っていません。
If they find out I'm not here anymore, they may leave.
それは確かにそういう手もあるかもしれませんが。では、行くなら俺も共に行きます。
All right. Shimada and I left my room and went out of the compound from the back. Suddenly, I thought I saw something fly past me then. It seemed like Shimada noticed it too. Then, once more, his large body was flung high through the air. Well, yep, this is seeming like a poor plan. Shimada's body smashed against the wall. Shimada! I tried to run up to him, but then... Ah, it's Mr. Punchy. Sorry, Amagiri.
Yukimura Chizuru. 君は私と共に来てもらいます。本意ではありませんが、これ以上お遊びに時間を割きたくはないもので。
I tried to escape, but it was...
無駄なことを。
Yeah! He came from behind and bound my arms before putting his hand over my mouth. I desperately tried to shake him off, but he held me down with all of his weight and power, so I couldn't even budge. Where was he taking me? He carried me off, moving unhindered to the back exit. I could hear the clang of swords from somewhere nearby, but I couldn't see anything. They were fighting the demons. Perhaps if I cried out, Hijikata and the men may hear me, but... since he was covering my mouth, I wasn't even able to scream.
おとなしくしていてください。そうすれば、もう誰も傷つけずに済みます。我々の目的は君を捕らえることであって、誰かを傷つけることではないのですから。
I pictured Shimada's limp body and bit my lip. What should I do? Stay quiet or scream? I mean, we gotta try, right? Amagiri was courteous enough. I couldn't trust him. He'd broken into the temple to kidnap me, hardly the actions of an honorable man. If I let him take me, I didn't think I'd ever escape. Amagiri arrived at the main street, carrying me under his arm. Although the street was normally bustling with activity during afternoons, it was quiet now. Help me! Anybody! I hoped with all of my heart that someone would hear me, maybe even run to my aid. He moved to cover my mouth. However, my screams had the intended effect. Yeah, as soon as the demon we ran into was Amagiri, I was like, yes, this is the direction of Heisuke. Because Heisuke and Saito have both dealt with this guy. Which makes him feel like the right... which means he felt like the right one. Heisuke! I couldn't believe Heisuke was here. I was surprised, but immediately thankful.
Chizuru! お前、何やってるんだよ、こんなところで。
Heisuke, please help me!
てめえは池田屋にいた。
Heisuke drew his sword and pointed it towards Amagiri.
こんなところで会えるとは思わなかったぜ。お前には借りがあったよな。
So soon. You know, like 4 years. 3 years. Somewhere in that vein.
あいにく覚えがありません。
There was nothing mocking in his tone, only confusion. He had no idea what Heisuke was talking about. Unfortunately, that only made Heisuke angrier.
忘れたとは言わせねえぜ。池田屋でてめえにつけられたこの額の傷をよ。
なるほど。あの時の方でしたか。元気そうで何よりです。
はっ、余裕だな。今度こそ負けねえからな。
Heisuke's sword shot out. A normal swordsman wouldn't have been able to parry, let alone avoid. But Hamagiri dodged it easily.
なんだって。
無駄なことはやめましょう。あなたの実力はあの時からさして成長したようには見えません。
うるせえ。こちとら諦めが悪いのが取り柄なんだよ。
He brought his sword down, then jerked it back up.
愚かなことを。
Hamagiri dodged both blows. Heisuke swiftly created some distance, and then they faced one another again.
くそ。なんで当てられねえんだよ。
I suddenly understood the reason for his frustration. He wasn't unable to hit Amagiri, he simply couldn't. Hitting Amagiri would mean risking hitting me as well. He was holding back out of fear of hurting me. This wasn't the time to sit and watch. I had to help him. But how?
考えてる場合じゃないよな。とにかく俺が何とかしないと。じゃあ！
He leapt forward again, his sword hissing in a shining arc. I twisted as hard as I could to get in Amagiri's way. Amagiri faltered for a second. I didn't let that opportunity pass me by. I grabbed a hold of Amagiri's arm. Heisuke, now! I'll hold him! Stab him along with me! Heisuke's eyes grew wide. Don't worry, I won't get injured. Hurry! Heisuke's eyes burned with resolve, then... Blood erupted from Amagiri's arm. I broke free and ran up to Heisuke.
ったく無茶しやがって。
やってくれましたね。
Amagiri's arm seemed to be gravely injured. He was holding his left arm and you could see his crimson blood trickle freely down. For a demon, I was sure his injury would heal in no time. But in the moment, Heisuke looked to have the advantage. But just then, the sound of a whistle resounded from a little distance away. I assume people heard me screaming from earlier.
これ以上の騒ぎはごめんです。今は引いておきましょう。
待て!
Heisuke tried to run after him. However, Amagiri swiftly disappeared into the darkness. Grief washed over me.
大丈夫だったか千鶴。さっきの怪我。
I'm fine. A wound like this will heal really fast. I tried to reassure him, but Heisuke's distraught expression didn't change. Yeah, Heisuke, you've missed some information here. You hoped Heisuke could deliver a decisive blow? We're too early in the story for that!
女の体に傷をつけちまうなんて男として治れだって佐野さんなら言うんだろうな。
Heisuke?
いや、なんでもね。池田屋の借り、あいつにちゃんと返せなかったな。
You were still really amazing. I mean, you saved me.
いや、そうじゃねえって。もしお前が隙を作ってくれなかったらどうなってたかわからねえし。
Heisuke's gaze seemed empty as he looked down at the ground. He flinched as I called out to him. How are things over there? Are you getting along with Ito and everyone fine?
まあ、やっぱり伊藤さんはすげえ人でさ、俺が思いつかねえようなことを次々に考えついて、新選組にいた頃とは違って世の中の動きとかよく見えるようになった気がするし、やっぱりあの時の俺の判断は間違ってなかったって。
Even though he said all of this, I could sense a hint of regret. It was obvious to me that he wasn't entirely speaking from the heart. If he was regretting it, he should just come back to the Shinsengumi. Kondo, Hijikata, Nagakura, and Harada. I'm sure they were all hoping for his return. Heisuke? Just when I was about to say something, I saw a few people running in our direction. They were Shinsengumi men.
やべ。そんじゃ俺もう行くよ。送ってやれなくてごめんな。
Heisuke! Before I'd even had the chance to say goodbye, he'd disappeared into the night. I knew he couldn't be seen talking to someone from the Shinsengumi. But still, I'd hoped I'd get to talk to him a little longer. The following day. Good morning, everyone.
ああ、おはよう、雪村くん。ゆうべはよく眠れたかい？
Oh, yes.
無理はしなくていいよ。寝不足なのは顔を見ればわかるからね。
Then why did you ask? How's Shimada doing?
打ちどころが悪くて気を失っただけだ。怪我は内身程度で大したことはない。今後のタイムにも特に支障はないだろ
う。Really? Oh, what a relief.
島田くんも言っていたよ。役に立てず申し訳なかったとね。
What? I'm the one who should be apologizing to him. As we were talking.
おや、イサミさん、おはよう。どうしたんだね、機嫌が悪そうだが。もともといかつい顔なのに、それじゃ迫力満点だ。雪村くんも怖がっているじゃないか。
No, I'm alright. Am I about to get a lecture about leaving?
別に遠慮する必要はねえぜ。怖いなら素直に怖いって言っとけよ。
But I wasn't saying...
それはすまなかったな。体はないから許してほしい。
Kondo bowed deeply, his face grim. I wondered what was the matter. He was acting different. Please don't apologize. May I ask what happened?
うん。すぐにわかることだから伝えておこう。
He wasn't just talking to me anymore. The rest of the men moved closer to hear what he had to say.
西本願寺からこれ以上我々がここに留まるのは困ると言ってきた。
We're getting thrown out.
それはつまり我々にここから出ていけとそういうことですか。
いや、さすがにそこまで直接的な物言いではなかった。
まあいつかはそうなるんじゃないかと思ってはいたがね。いやはやしかし困ったね。
The monks in Nishihonwanji Temple were imperialists and allies of the Choshu. They had never been fond of the Shinsengumi. We'd known that, but decided to force our way into their temple anyway. It was no surprise they wanted us out. I'd finally begun to feel like the temple was my home. I was sure I wasn't the only one who felt that way.
それにしても急な話ですね。まさか昨晩の騒ぎが原因ですか。
ああ、ここであのような騒ぎを起こされては困るということらしい。
Darn it, demons! You're getting us thrown out of our home.
察するに長州や薩摩、そのあたりからも何か言われているのだろうな。
The ruckus last night was all because Kazama and his men wanted to abduct me. I'm sorry. This is all my fault.
そうではないさ。もともと無理難題を言ってここに押しかけたのは我々なんだからな。
しかしどうするのですか。屯所移転となるとまた候補地選びからやり直しになりますが。
それについてだな。移転先の敷地も屯所も全部西本願寺が用意してくれるそうだ。
You found us somewhere else to stay then? What?
おお、そりゃすごい。よっぽど我々に出て行ってほしいんだね。
まあ、ここは素直に受け取っておいた方が良さそうだな。また忙しくなるぞ。
And so, a plot of land was purchased and a new compound built, all paid for by the Nishihonwanji Temple. It became the third headquarters of the Shinsengumi, the Fudodo Village compound. Fudodo Village, a town in southern Kyoto located south of the Kyuda Bridge. Headquarters, 3. The third Shinsengumi compound was located in the village of Fudodo. In the new compound, there was a big bath where a dozen or so warriors could bathe together, and even new dojos. The new warriors were clearly excited about it. And so, summer came around. The Shinsengumi left Nishihonwanji, where they'd spent more than 2 years. (1867) October. How long till a bath scene? Good question. October 1867. It had been half a year since Heisuke's departure. The demons, the furies, my father, so much had happened in that time. Whenever I had a free moment, my mind would drift invariably to Heisuke. I wonder how he's doing. Every time we ate, I couldn't help but notice that he wasn't there. I didn't hear his voice chime in every time Nagakura and Harada were talking to each other. Everywhere I went were holes in my world that Heisuke had once filled. When I think about it, when I got here, he was the first person that was nice to me. I had been taken to the Shinsengumi headquarters under threat of violence, knowing I might be killed at any time. Many times during those first few days, his kind, approachable smile had brought me comfort. When I let my mind wander, it was easy to think that he was still with us. That he might step through the door, smile, and... Huh? Hey.
ああ、雪村君、自室にいましたか?
Thought she'd summoned him with her thoughts. But no. Oh, Shimada Yamazaki?
どうかしたのか? 朝飯の時、後で話があると言っておいたはずだが。
Oh, yes, right, of course. What was it you needed to talk about?
実は、我々は現在、副長の加盟で情報収集の任に当たっていまして、それに関して君の力を借りたいんです。
You want me to help with spying? What? But if he has you working on it, then this means it's a mission for the Watch, right? What could I possibly do for the Watch?
いや、むしろ君でなければできない任務だ。副長から許可ももらっている。無理にとは言わないが、ぜひ手伝ってほしい。
Ah, something only Chizuru can do. I assume this means dressing up as a woman. Something only I could do? I couldn't imagine what kind of mission it might be, but it wasn't very often that someone asked me directly for my help. Of course. Whatever you need. They led me to Kondo's home. According to Yamazaki, they used it from time to time to change into undercover garments. So I guess we're doing something where people can't know that we're from the Shinsengumi? I took the clothes they handed me. Oh, it's been a long time since I wore anything like this. Do I look weird?
いえ、随分と様になっています。今日の街を歩く女子と比べても遜色ありませんよ。
He had given me a woman's kimono. The design wasn't extravagant, but it felt like silk. I had a feeling it was rather expensive.
見事な女装だ。これなら普通の女子と見分けがつかないだろう。
Is that so? Thank you? I had a feeling they meant well, but it was very odd praise. Had they forgotten I actually was a girl? Maybe they have.
どうした池村君？目的地に着いたぞ。
Oh, right, so this is it? It looks like it sells dango. Isn't this just a normal tea house?
ええ、雪村君の任務は普通の女子としてここで待機することです。
Ah, My job is sit here, drink tea, and eat dango. And keep watch. Keeping watch is technically the important part, but... So, you just want me to sit here?
ああ、後のことは自然とわかるはずだ。それまでは自由にしていてくれ。
我々は遠くから見守らせてもらいます。甘いものでも頼んでゆっくりしていてください。
Before I could respond, they turned and walked off. Act normal? I'd never been given such a command in all the time I'd been in Kyoto. I ordered some tea and dango and sat down. So I'm just supposed to figure it out? Figure what out? We're being used as bait. Yeah, maybe. Were some important people from the Satsuma and Choshu clans coming here to meet in secret? I listened intently, just in case I might be able to catch some relevant conversation. And then...
ああ、言われなくても分かってんよ。伊藤さんに逆らう気はないって。
Keisuke!
ならいいがな。俺たちの中には近藤の子飼いだった貴様を官庁の類ではと疑っている者も多い。忘れるな。
分かってるって言ってんだろ。用がそれだけならさっさと行けよ。
I turned toward the voices and swallowed. That was the face that had appeared in my mind every day for the past 6 months. Hey... I stopped myself halfway through. The Shinsengumi and the Guardians were strictly forbidden from talking to one another. If anyone caught me, Heisuke and I would both be in a great deal of trouble. Is that why I've been dressed up as a girl? So I turned back, away from them, but as I did, Heisuke himself sat down next to me.
たくなんなんだよあいつら。おちおち茶も飲んでられねえし。そこの姉ちゃん、どうかしたのか？なんか調子悪そうだぞ。
I looked away quickly, hoping he wouldn't recognize me. Oh, no, I'm fine. Nothing's wrong.
なんだよそんな怯えて。俺ってそんな怖い顔してるか？
His face was so confused and worried that I couldn't stop a giggle from escaping my lips.
って今度は人の顔見て笑っただろ。失礼なやつだな。初対面の相手。
Aha! The brain cells are finally connected.
お前
Is something wrong? His eyes widened as the realization dawned on him.
悪い。綺麗な人だなって見惚れただけだ。気にしないでくれ。
He's blushing. Thank you. You're a real flatterer.
お世辞じゃないし。って悪い。初対面の相手に何言ってんだろうな。俺。
It's fine. Everybody likes to get compliments.
そっか。それならいいんだ。変なこと言ってごめんな。
I saw my name on his lips, but he didn't speak it. There was no way to know who was listening, and since we weren't allowed to meet, we couldn't risk revealing that we actually knew who the other was. After a short, awkward silence, Heisuke spoke.
なあ、 お前はこの茶屋にはよく来るのか?
Oh, no, this is my first time. What about you?
そっか。俺は最近よく来てる。島原で酒を飲む気分になれないし。
Did those two drag us out here on purpose so that because they could see we were upset that Heisuke was gone? Probably.
それにさ、こういう出会いもあるなら、酒よりお茶も悪くないと思う。
Maybe. If I hadn't met him through the Shinsengumi, we could have met like this. Yeah, but you wouldn't be quite as close, would you? Two strangers meeting by chance in a tea house. To anyone else, that was how we would look. You're right. I guess meeting here is some kind of fate, sir.
敬語は使わなくていいって。多分同じぐらいの年だろう。
Really? Okay, I guess I can do that.
それでいいよ。そっちの方が気が楽だ。それよりさ、早く口つけないとうまいお茶が冷めちまうぞ。ここのみたらし団子とすげえ合うんだよ。
Oh, you're right. It's sweet, and then the bitterness of the tea. This is delicious.
だろ？せっかくだからもう一つ俺がおごってやるよ。
It had been a long time since I'd spoken with Heisuke. What's less formal than sir, but not the name. The thing is, essentially, in Japanese, there's layers, there's different, like, essentially versions of the language based on how formal you're being. Like, the verbs are different. And it's something a little bit difficult to portray in English. But essentially we swapped down from really formal to informal. Essentially. Unfortunately, we had to watch what we said very carefully, which limited us mostly to talk of the food and the weather. He was close enough to touch, and that the wall that had sprung up between the Shinsengumi and the Guardians still stood between us. It's starting to get chilly now that it's autumn. Are you doing alright? No colds or anything?
俺は頑丈なのが取り柄だからな。むしろお前は大丈夫なのか？風邪とか、それ以外でも困ってることがあったりとかしないか？
Well, kind of feels like we should be honest. I'm a little bit sad because you're gone. One of my friends has gone far away. I mean, he's not that far away, but there are other things keeping me from seeing him. So, I guess that's making me a little sad.
そっか。寂しいか。うまく言えねえけどさ。そういうのって、きっと相手も寂しいと思ってるんじゃねえかな。でもきっと、今のそいつにはどうにもできないことなんだ。それは。
Sorry, I didn't mean to trouble you. Of course he was sad too. Immediately I regretted making him say it. That might not have been the correct choice, but I like it. We kept talking after that. By the time we'd finished our tea, it was already late afternoon. One of us said they had to go, though I couldn't remember which one.
もう少し話してたかったな。
Yeah.
こういう時なんて言って別れりゃいいかわかんねえや。
He seemed reluctant to stand up. To the outside world, we were supposed to be two strangers who just happened to meet. We couldn't even call each other's names. But to say it just once, to put a name to the face that was in my thoughts every day, it...
そんな顔すんなって。可愛い顔が台無しだぞ。
Before I could say his name, he stopped me. His words were soft and kind.
じゃあ、縁があったらまた会おうな。
Finally, he stood and began to walk away. Just as he passed me, I heard him whisper.
いつだったか、振り袖着て見せてくれって頼んだことがあったけどさ。
That's true.
今ここで少しだけそれが叶ったよ。ありがとな、千鶴。
Yeah, see you later. Then we were past one another. As I watched Heisuke's back growing smaller, I felt someone approach me from behind. Neither of them spoke. They just waited quietly. I turned around with a smile, profoundly grateful for the kindness they'd shown me. Thank you, both of you.
悪いが礼を言われる理由がわからないな。
For taking me on this mission, for bringing me here to see him.
別に雪村君のためではない。こちらはただ東堂さんの様子から五両エジの動きを探ろうとしただけだ。その目的はもう十分果たした。日が暮れる前に帰るとしよう。
Without waiting for a response, Yamazaki set off at a brisk walk. Still, there was something in his tone that sounded much kinder than it usually did.
ああ言っていますが、山崎君は君のことも東堂君のことも気にかけているんです。
Yeah, this was an entirely pretend mission, wasn't it?
もちろん俺も今回の一件に許可を出した副長も同じ心持ちですが。
Ah, it's Hijikata's fault, as it were. I know, and that means a lot, really.
さ、山崎君に遅いと言われる前に追いかけるとしましょう。
Yes. It seemed like everyone in the Shinsengumi was worried about me. They did so much for me. One day, I would have to find a way to repay them properly. I repeated those words to myself and looked back at Heisuke one last time. (1867) November. November 1867. A gust of wind stripped some of the last leaves from the trees. The cold bit into me through my clothes. I shivered. It's almost winter, isn't it?
ああ、この時期の冷え込みはほんと厳しいなんてもんじゃねえよな。だが、今は昼だからまだマシだぜ。寒い夜の巡察がどれだけ辛いかっつうとな。
He left, his breath coming out white as smoke. My fingertips were icy cold as I blew on them.
なんだ寒いのか手でもつないでやろうか
No, I'm not that cold. I'll be fine. Oh? Someone was walking toward us.
よー、二人とも今日もいい天気だな。
こいつだけは寒さとは無縁だよな。
あ？やれによってその格好のてめえに言われる筋合いはねえぞ。
Their bickering might have looked odd to a passerby, and I knew it for the sign of deep friendship that it was.
なんだよ、そんなにニヤニヤして。
そりゃ、お前がいつも通りの間抜けな面を晒してるからに決まってるだろ。
No, it's just... Well, I was just remembering when we met up like this before. Like the time we met Kaoru. I was with Dokita and Heisuke then, though. I trailed off. More than 6 months had passed since Saito and Heisuke had left to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb. Harada and Shinpachi's faces turned grim. And they must have thought the same thing as me. I just mean there's been so much going on lately, it makes me nostalgic.
まあそうだな。世間もうちもいろいろあったからな。
Yes.
しかしまさか俺たちが直参に取り立てられる日が来るとは思わなかったけどな。
Jikisan refers to a samurai directly employed by the shogun with an annual income of less than 10,000 koku, a unit of volume typically used to measure rice. 180.4 litres. 1 koku is enough to feed 1 person for 1 year. There you go. A general term encompassing Hatamoto and other types of vassals, also referred to as bakshin. It was when we moved to Fudodo village, right? I remembered there were a handful of people who said they were going to leave, and it was a big debacle. There was a distinction, though, between those who were able to leave the Shinsengumi and then those who were forced to enter the Fury Corps. Kondo seemed to be thrilled about being promoted to Jikisan, but not everyone was of like mind. How do you guys feel about this?
まあ正直柄じゃねえよな。
別に幕府の家来になるために今まで戦ってきたわけでもねえしな。
Jikisan was a direct retainer for the Tokugawa clan. It was entirely different than being a vassal for a daimyo. Daimyo. A powerful samurai with an income of over 10,000 koku. They served the shogun directly. Where before, we'd only been philosophically aligned with the shogun, now we answered directly to him. For some people, that was a serious problem. Rumours floated around as we began to move to our new headquarters. So, what's this going to change for us going forward? I heard that a few months ago the Imperial Prince became the new Emperor. Imperial Prince, the Emperor's male child. The Imperial Restoration was last month, right? Restoration of Imperial Rule. The political event in which the Shogun, Yoshinobu Tokugawa, returned all sovereign powers to the Emperor. The Emperor, who is 15, if I recall correctly. Might be 16 by now, maybe. I also heard the Tokugawa shogunate returned governing power to the emperor.
ああ、坂本龍馬が考えた策らしいな。
Oh, that's a familiar name. Ryoma Sakamoto, a ronin from Tosa who negotiated the alliance between Satsuma and Choshu for the purpose of overthrowing the Tokugawa shogunate. He played a crucial part in restoring imperial rule.
おかげで戦をやって天下を取りたかった薩摩や長州の奴らから相当恨まれることになったらしい
な。幕府寄りの奴からはもともと嫌われてたから日本中の浪士から恨まれるようになったってことだな。
とはいえ、これで薩長側も戦をする大義名分がなくなっちまったし、今の調子でこのまま続いていくんじゃねえの？
将軍はそのまんまだし、徳川家が以前日本で一番でかい大名家だってことは変わりがねえしな。薩摩の奴らが何やら怪しげな動きを見せてやがるのが気にかかるな。
ま、幕府側が挑発に乗らなきゃどうってことはねえだろ。
I see. As I looked around the city, it seemed like he had a point. Nothing much seemed to have changed. Inns still bustled with travellers, delicious smells still wafted from tea shops. The smell of burning incense still came from the temples scattered throughout the town. Life continued just as it always had, regardless of how the government was organised. However, the city might look the same as it always had, but time flowed on. A great wave of change was coming that would sweep all of us away. I looked up at Nagakura and something occurred to me that I hadn't thought of before. Before I realised what I was doing, I'd opened my mouth. I didn't realise you were so smart, Nagakura. You know a lot about politics.
一つ聞いていいか？今まで何だと思ってたんだ、俺のこと。
I thought you were a bit of an idiot. Sorry. Let's continue our rounds. It's winter, so it'll get darker faster.
ごまかしてな。
There was a man named Ryoma Sakamoto. He was a ronin from the Tosa domain and had allied himself with the Satsuma and Choshu domains. For a time, the Kyoto Judiciary Commissioner, the Mimawarigumi, and even the Shinsengumi were desperate to find him. Mimawarigumi, a civilian police force similar to the Shinsengumi that was instead composed of the sons of shogunate vassals. They were charged with guarding the Nijo Castle area in Kyoto. After he orchestrated the imperial restoration, however, orders were passed down to leave him alone. I only had a general idea of who he was and what he'd done, but even I had figured out that he was an important person. When I heard Inoue mention him, I listened closely.
その坂本龍馬だが暗殺されたらしい。
Well, we just heard of him and now he's dead. The past.
本当かよ。一体誰がやったんだ？
坂本は敵が多いしな。幕府側も薩長側も個人的な恨みなら紀州の三浦ってやつとも揉めてたよな。
Kishu, one of the three main branches of the Tokugawa clan. It was also known as the Ki domain or the Wakayama domain. He's not dead though, otherwise the character info wouldn't have had a 1. Yeah! You raise a good point.
実は僕らが一番疑われてるんじゃない？
Unless 2 is he got assassinated.
本
どうせ他のやつに殺されるんなら僕が切っておけばよかったな。
おいおい、冗談に聞こえねえよ。つうか、俺らは手を出すなって言われてただろうが。
Ryoma Sakamoto. I'd never met him. In fact, I barely knew who he was. But I felt somehow that his death would shake the country to its core.
みんなも知っての通り、私たちは勇さんから坂本龍馬に手を出さないように再三言われていた。だけど世間はそう見てくれてはいないようでね。なんでも現場に新選組大使の鞘が落ちていたらしい。
Well, that's going to be a problem. Someone trying to pin it on us, huh?
今、取り調べの問い合わせが来ているよ。
A scabbard? Is that really enough evidence?
どう考えても単なる言いがかりだろうよ。で、誰の鞘だって言ってるんだ？
それがね、君なんだよ、原田君。
Doesn't Harada only have one sword scabbard? Given that he uses a spear otherwise, or are they suggesting it's a spear scabbard? What?
なんだ、佐野さんが切ったんだ。せっかくだから僕も呼んでほしかったな。
バカ言うんじゃねえよ。俺の鞘はここにあるんだぜ。作り話ならもっとうまくやれってんだ。
私もみんなも最初から君を疑ってなどいないよ。だがそういったところで世間が信じてくれるかどうか。こんな噂が流れるところを見ると、先方も犯人を絞りきれずにいるんだろうし、紀州藩の三浦九太郎が新選組に依頼して暗殺したなんて話もあったよ。
Yutaro Miura, a loyalist from the Kishu domain. He is not on good terms with Ryoma Sakamoto. Miura, that was the man Nagakura had mentioned. He had some sort of personal quarrel with Sakamoto, which made him a suspect.
新選組の仕業ってことにしてやつもいるだろうしな。つっても俺たちが何も聞かされてねえ以上、新選組が手を下したってことはねえよ。
三男さんが勝手に動いたんだとしたら別ですけどね。
I mean, that's the most likely person, really, isn't it? The room fell silent.
三男さんは大丈夫なのか？俺たちから見ても最近の夜の銃殺はやり方がひでえぜ。
It was true Sanan was acting stranger and stranger. Although I didn't want to believe it, I had to admit it wasn't that difficult to imagine him doing this. When I passed him on occasion in the hallways, his eyes were dry and thirsty. As if he was always hungry for blood.
俺らの方で気をつけるしかねえな。羅刹隊の存在を表に出すわけにはいかねえし。
その件についてだが、
お、近藤さんに土方さん。って。
サイド。お前、なんでここにいるんだよ。
For a moment, I thought I was dreaming. There was no doubt. The man who'd followed Kondo and Hijikata into the room was the man who had left to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb, Saito himself.
いや、斉藤くんじゃないか。久しぶりだね。ご両親の方はどうしたんだい？
Maybe Ito is framing us. He doesn't like us after all. What are you talking about, Inoue? There's no way Hijikata would allow a member of the Guardians here. We're prohibited from even talking to them.
ごちゃごちゃうるせえな。許すも何も。本日付で斎藤は新選組に復帰するんだよ。
Saito's back. But just Saito. Hajime Saito. He left the Shinsengumi along with Kashitaro Ito to join the Guardians of the Imperial Tomb under secret orders from Hijikata. He has been a spy. What?
いや、ちょっと待った土方さん。俺たちとしちゃ嬉しい頼りだけどよ。そんじゃ五両エジっつうか伊藤派の立場はどうなるんだ。
まずそこから訂正を。俺はもともと伊藤派ではない。
斉藤君はな、都市の命を受けて患者として伊藤派に混じっていたんだ。
And with that, everything suddenly made sense. To fool your enemy, you must first fool your allies. Saito had been doing just that by pretending to be Ito's ally.
なんだ、はじめくん。僕に内緒でそんな楽しいことをしてたんだね。
さっきは肝が冷えたぜ。近藤さんたちも人が悪いよ。
極秘だったのでな。黙っていてみんなにはすまんことをしたな。
It was a surprise, to be sure. I was glad we'd have Saito back with us again.
安心するのはまだ早い。この半年、俺は五両エジとして活動を続けていたが、伊藤たちは新選組に対し、明らかな敵対行動を取ろうとしている。
Yep.
敵対行動とは表現からして穏やかではなさそうだね。
伊藤のやつは幕府を貶めるため羅刹隊の存在を公にしようとしてやがるんだ。
Oh dear. Well, that's a problem. Yeah, what about his... It's interesting that those other Guardians guys who were hassling Keisuke when we were at the tea shop were like, we think you're a spy. He's not the spy. Saito is the spy.
そのために薩摩と手を組んだって話もあるな。
The existence and creation of the monstrous Furies was to become public knowledge. The shogunate's reputation would be irreparably damaged, and the Shinsengumi would undoubtedly suffer as well. It was possible that the Sacho could even go as far as to use it as a pretext to start a war.
そしてより差し迫った問題がもう一つ。伊藤派は新選組局長暗殺計画を練っている。
Oh dear. You mean Kondo? Kondo's face was tense, but he kept silent. He glanced over at Hijikata.
五両エジはすでに新選組潰しに動き始めている。坂本龍馬が暗殺された件は聞いたか？
ああ、何でも俺がやったとかいう話になってるらしいな。
聞いてるんなら話は早い。その噂を流したのは五両エジの連中だ。紀州藩の三浦九太郎が新選組に依頼して原田に殺させたってな。
When do the demons come into this again? I mean, they're working with Sacho, right? Or at least several of the times we've seen them, they've been working with the Satsuma and the Shoshu.
三浦には身に覚えがねえらしいが、噂を鵜呑みにしたバカが俺たちを襲ってこねえとも限らねえ。三浦の警護は斎藤に頼むこと。
Saito came back, and now Saito's gone again.
事情を知らねえ大使連中から見ると、斎藤は伊藤派から出戻りしたようにしか見えねえだろうから
な。わきまえています。ほとぼりが冷めるまで俺はここにいない方がいいでしょう。
Here, Hijikata paused for a moment. The room was utterly silent. Every one of us waited for his next words.
伊藤化した羅刹隊の存在を公にするだけでなく、近藤さんの命まで狙ってるときた。
He spoke quietly, almost to himself, as if sharing a final moment with a former comrade. Then he looked up, and when he spoke his voice was like cold steel, the voice of the demon commander.
残念なことだが、あの男には死んでもらうしかね
えな。Yep. Guess he gotta die. Kondo nodded, and that was that. The Shinsengumi would kill Kashitaro Ito.
まず、伊藤を近藤さんの別宅に呼び出す。接待には俺も回る。その後、伊藤の死体を使って五両エイジの連中を呼び出し、切る。実行隊は新八、原田、お前らに頼む。
土方さん、僕は誰を切ればいいんですか？
お前は寝てろ。相変わらず変な咳をしてやがるし、体調も悪いんだろ。
Yep. Someone here is still sick. Like 3 years on. And should really be resting.
斎藤もまだ数日はここにいるから相手をしてもらえ。
近藤さんを殺そうとしてる人を暗殺するのに僕に見せ場をくれないつもりですか？恨みますよ、土方さん。
It all seemed very calculated for murder. I didn't realize I'd been sitting still in shock until I felt a gentle tap on my shoulder. I turned around. Saito?
五両エイジはこれで終わる。平助を呼び戻すつもりなら、これが最後の機会になるだろう。
Yeah, we need to get Heisuke out of there, otherwise we're going to have to kill him. He was right. If they meant to kill the Guardians, that included Heisuke. I couldn't keep sitting still, so I ran over to Hijikata. Hijikata?
なんだ?
What are you going to do with Heisuke? He's still part of the Guardians.
それはもちろん助けるに決まって。
Nagakura said it as if it was obvious, but got cut off.
歯向かうようなら切れ。
What? My mind went blank. My heart pounded in my ears. No, you can't mean that. My voice shook. You're lying, right? You've known Heisuke for a long time. He's your friend. Hijikata stood up as if he wanted to push me away. And then he left the common room. You're actually going to order them to kill Heisuke? So, just because he left the Shinsengumi, you saying you no longer care if he dies or not? I yelled when...
そんなはずがないだろう。年だって本心では助けたいと思っているんだ。
Yeah, we do just have to prevent him from fighting. That's true.
きた仲間を殺す命令を下して平気でいられるはずがないだろう。
Hondo was clenching his fists so tightly they'd gone white. That alone said it all. I realized in that moment how much Kondo and even Hijikata wanted to save Heisuke. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
君の立場ならああいうのが当たり前だ。平助はみんなに慕われているのだな。
Kondo let out a slow breath, then looked up at me and smiled. He turned to Nagakura and Harada and spoke in a low voice.
長倉君、原田君、局長ではなく近藤勇として頼む。平助を見逃してやってくれ。できるならタイに戻るよう説得してほしい。
ああ、分かってるさ。あいつの命が俺たちの腕にかかってるってわけだな。責任重大だ。
What should I do? What could I do?
これで皆自分の役割は確認したな。もし質問があるなら今のうちに言っておいてくれ。
Wait! Kondo turned around and looked very surprised. I haven't been given any orders. I would like to help.
手伝うと言っても今回の仕事は池田屋や金門の変の時とは違うんだよ。君はこんな役目には関わるべきではない。
This wasn't a patrol, or even a guard mission. This was the assassination of a former comrade, and an attack on men who'd split from the Shinsengumi. Well, obviously we want to help! We're not staying home with Saito and Okita. We gotta go try and convince Heisuke. Still, I wanted to do what I could. It might be my last chance to see Heisuke. Please, let me help. I won't get in the way.
あのな、今回のは使いでも遊びでもねえんだ。
一時は同志だった奴らの暗殺だ。万が一のことがあれば、平助だって切ることになるかもしれねえんだぜ。
I know. It's not something to be taken lightly. I knew that the Shinsengumi had carried out these sorts of underhanded operations before. I'd been involved all this time, watching them, living with them. I was done keeping my own hands clean while they shouldered the burden of such dirty work. I was done averting my eyes. Perhaps it's presumptuous of me to say so, but I consider myself a member of the Shinsengumi. And because we're going through this, I want to help everyone.
決意は固いようだな。
His face had lost its usual warmth, but it wasn't anger or cruelty that it showed now. He spoke sternly, with the gravity of a general addressing his men.
ならばどうする？この一件において君は何をしたいんだね？
I'd already decided. I would convince Heisuke. And we are gonna leave that right there on that cliffhanger, given the time. Just because it's a really interesting spot to end. So, thank you very much for coming. It's been very sad that we haven't got to see Heisuke most of the time today. But otherwise, fun. If you're new here and you've enjoyed your time, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can also follow me on social media, which is linked in the description. This cliffhanger's becoming a trademark. I mean, it's a little difficult in the middle of a story not to leave it on a cliffhanger, right? Anyway, The streaming schedule for the channel goes up both over on social media and over here on YouTube in the posts tab of the channel. The next scheduled stream is Wednesday, 7 PM for some more Pokemon Legends CA. So hope to see you then, or another time. Once again, thank you very much for coming, and this is Kalla signing out. See ya! Bye bye!